Good afternoon. Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN right here in downtown Elgin. It is Wednesday. Oh my goodness, it is the 7th. Is today the 7th already? I can't believe it.
3 weeks till Christmas.
3 weeks until Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
That's even more bad news.
I know.
Laura, this is a good news show.
Thank you.
I've determined I want to lose weight fast. I want to get rich
toy
quick.
with me.
And I want to look young forever.
And I'm going to do it for you this coming year. Believe me, with the guest lineup that I have,
Wow.
you guys aren't going to believe what's coming.
2012 is almost here. You know what they talked about this morning on House Calls? Good posture.
Oops.
They talked about good posture. We practice that all the time here on the Laura Dion Jones Show, and I think it's really good because the doctor now has endorsed good posture, Dr. Mueller, this morning. So very good for us for being the first on WRMN to endorse good posture.
Isn't that the truth?
It is
Thank
the
you,
truth.
Clara Leos.
Welcome to the Laura Dion Jones Show, by the way, everybody.
Hey, today is Pearl Harbor Day, and God bless. I mean, did you ever go see the Arizona? Anybody here in the studio see the Arizona
No,
Memorial?
I have not.
Let me just tell you this. When you go to Hawaii, you have to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be very difficult because you won't be able to keep a dry eye.
Of course.
Because you could
Nor
still
should
see,
you.
nor should you, but you could still see the oil leaking out. And almost 70 years ago today, I understand that there were about 2,200 people were killed on the Day of Infamy, and Pearl Harbor Survivors Association are going to disband by the end of this year. Jeffrey, did you know that?
There's not many left. There's
7.
7.
So,
Wow.
well, only 7 were able to
Did
make
you know
it.
your friend Gordon Snelly was on that day? It's Sunday morning for us,
Yeah.
different time zone.
Yeah.
But he worked at the theater that we just tore down here a few years ago. He was an usher at the theater on that night. He was
No
a young
kidding.
young lad, about 15 plus years old, and on the Pearl Harbor Day. He might have been a
Well,
few years older than that, but somewhere there.
it's a little before my time. And is my dear friend Minnie Minoso ever going to make it into the Hall of
Well,
Fame?
with congratulations to Ron Santo. That
I
was
know,
long
okay.
overdue.
I should have said that.
No, that's fine because that's been said by everyone now. Minnie's an interesting case. Of course, he lost much of time in the playing in the big leagues because he couldn't get in with the race barrier at the time,
Minnie
color
should be
barrier.
in the Hall of Fame.
He was an outstanding career, and he led the way for the black Latin American player to perform, and dominated the 60s. So sure, you could make a great case for him. He's still alive, but he's 89 or more.
That's the kicker. He's still alive? No.
He's not 89 or more.
Yes, he is.
Minnie's in their 70s. I just saw him the other day. He looks like he's 55.
born November 29th of 22 or 23. He changes it every few years.
Well, you would too if you looked like him and was his
Well, I
age.
salute him.
Shoot, I changed
He was
it
at your
every
event.
time you turn around,
remember,
too.
Remember at ECC when you were the moderator?
Yeah,
He was out at
yeah.
that event.
Well, he was there because I invited
Arrestus
him.
Minnie Minoso.
He was there because of me.
Well, he
he's
was-
my pal.
Well, he's a delightful lad.
Isn't he?
He still works for the White Sox, but he is in that 89 plus range, but still strong. Still gets
strong.
out. Still signing autographs.
Speaking of strong, I saw My Week with Marilyn, not Maryland, and nobody wants to know how it was. Did you see
How
it?
was it? We missed our cue. You should show up for rehearsals. How was it? I'm asking you. Don't get lost
Well,
on the
let
road.
me just say the performances were astonishing, and
How
I had
astonishing were they?
goosebump astonishing. There's about 5 scenes with her as Marilyn, and you will get goosebumps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do stuff.
And Kenneth,
good.
oh my God, she was fabulous. And you really want to wring her neck. And Kenneth Branagh was terrific as Olivier. And the kid who wrote the story was outstanding too. However, we felt the script was a teeny bit slow.
Did we?
And then I saw on the newest Kennedy Center honoree, Barbara Cook. You know the singer Barbara
Yeah,
Cook?
yeah.
Guess how I know her?
From your guest here 4 months ago, they're somehow related.
No, I designed dresses for her when I
Oh,
had my
nice.
plus-size clothing
Do
company,
that.
Dion
That was
Jones
close
Limited.
because you designed dresses for that lady that was in here as well.
Yeah.
So it all ties
Not
together.
you.
Yeah.
And
that's
also designed for Rosemary Clooney, Della Reese, Maggie Daly, Sis Daly, Pat Daly Martino, Richie's sister, and Whitney Houston's mom, Sissy.
You
Y'all
did?
didn't know that, did you?
I have no idea.
Yes, sir.
That's very nice. Rosemary
And-
Clooney's brother still introduces movies on that movie channel.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
And let's switch gears a second. And what about in Yamaguchi, Japan? You heard about the 16-car chain reaction
Oh, yeah,
pileup of
something.
the convoy of exotic I was
Yeah,
almost
the most
crying.
expensive crash since your computer.
Thank
Wow.
you. 8 Ferraris and a Lambo.
Isn't that
And
something?
we're part of the 16, and I was just in shock. I used to have, back in the day, in another life, I had a boyfriend with a few Ferraris.
Really?
Yes,
Few.
a
If
few.
you're going to have one, you might as well have a few.
Hey, if
Why
you
have
go,
this
you
one?
know, like Pat Hewells, former Chicago alderman, said, go big or go home.
That's right.
So the crown jewel was a Daytona Ferrari, and it was worth 1.5. million.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Did you drive it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, my heavens. Did you
Over
back it out
220.
Oh, really? Over
Yeah,
220?
up in Door County.
You were in Germany for this.
You can be
right?
arrested.
We were in,
You know, they.
kind of, sort of, yeah.
No, I'm just teasing you.
How many years ago was that? Might still be a case when you take to court.
Another life.
7
It's
years?
statute of limitations.
All right, 220.
Good.
And I have to
I don't
say,
know electricity that strong.
and I have to say something as far as it has to do with Sears. Are they really going to pull out of Illinois?
I don't think so. I
They
think
better
they'll-
not, because
no.
here's what I want to do if they decide to. We should start a
Oh.
grassroots movement for everyone in the entire state to boycott Sears, because if Sears doesn't need to stay here for us, why should we spend our money with them?
Ooh, that's tough.
Right? There are plenty of other fine stores and companies who are happy to do business in Illinois. We need their money here.
come
And they need a
on.
less of a tax break. Come on.
No.
Well, they're
no.
negotiating. I think it'll work out.
I hope
gotta
it works
disagree.
out for them, but I think if it doesn't, I think we should
Remember
boycott
when
Sears.
we lost the watch factory to the town that renamed themselves Elgin, South Carolina, when we lost the watch factory. They named the town after Elgin. Think about that. Didn't work for them. They went out of business a couple years later.
Serves them right.
But
Bad
they
karma.
stole the name.
Trying to yeah, bad karma.
Yeah.
And then speaking of fine stores, Nordstrom's is the new Marshall Fields in my book.
Is it?
Yeah, incredible service. And also
A Ferrari's a new Volkswagen for me.
or Pinto. Oh,
That's right.
I'm kidding you, honey.
Yeah.
And then did you all catch Christmas in Rockefeller Center last week?
I
did.
Yeah.
Wasn't it fabulous?
Yeah. Al Roker.
Oh my God! Here was what I liked. They debuted the world premiere of an unbelievable new music video. It was a duet
Yeah.
with Mariah Carey and Justin Bieber of her hit "All I Want for Christmas
That
Is
was
You."
good.
Wasn't that the best part? To me, that was the best part of the evening. It
Is
was,
that the one where Faith Hill didn't show or didn't report? Was that the one?
I don't
I forget
know.
which one it was.
I don't know. But I had to rewind the music video "All I Want for Christmas Is You" several times because it was that fabulous.
Oh, that's great.
And since they debuted it, they've received in 1 week over 6 million hits.
Well, your
And
songs do the same thing here.
Did you notice how Biebs looked like he'd been coached and choreographed by a few homeboys?
Yes.
I mean, it was hysterical.
Do we know Miss
Yes.
Biebs? Do you know Miss Biebs?
I don't know Ms.
Okay.
Biebs, you know who Justin Bieber is.
Yeah, I know.
Biebs.
but
Everybody
I don't
calls
know
him
if we
Biebs.
I don't think we pick him Biebs.
And listen, here's
Facebook
one
me.
other thing. You know about that question that I ask about the dinner guests? Like who? I always ask a lot of my guests, who would you invite to dinner? Famous, past, living or dead?
Yeah.
You know.
Mike always said Abe Lincoln, he's dead and he won't eat much. I don't think that's not very. All right.
Well, I asked this friend of mine, and he said Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Edison, Freud, Golda Meir, and lastly, Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
That is good.
And somebody called in with a question the other day, and it was by a guy, and he says, I absolutely hate vinegar and oil as a salad dressing. What else can I do to eat a salad with low-carb dressing, especially when I'm out? All the dressings I like have sugar. And I told him, take 1 tablespoon of your favorite dressing and pour a little bit of olive oil over it to dilute it, and then, mix up the salad. So
good.
all the...
That's good.
that's good
Thousand
advice.
Island,
yeah.
one scoop, and then
one little, not scoop,
well,
tablespoon.
One dab.
Dab. And then we got to slip right into our special guest today, and it will be Don Gabor, internationally known author of a terrific and timely book, How to Start a Conversation and Make Friends. He's going to be here with some super conversation starters and advice on how to get rid of those conversational jitters. And Don's going to teach us how to talk to just about anybody, something moi does not have a trouble
That's
with. And just in time for the holiday parties. And remember, a few weeks back, our guest who got lost and ended up in Rockford.
Yeah. That was a great
is
video.
here.
Can I interrupt for a phone call real fast?
Okay.
Sometimes I'm good at screening phone calls. Sometimes I get one that I just feel like I have to put on the air because I really don't have a clue.
Okay.
Apparently, you talked to somebody earlier today and told them to call in.
I did.
So we'll find out if it's
Is it
true or
Oprah?
not.
Hello.
Hello, you're on the air with Laura Dion Jones.
Hi, this is Jessica and Maha calling from Dunkin' Donuts. Just wanting to say hello to Laura.
Hey, girls, how are you? They're
How are you?
Oh, we're fabulous. They're the best Dunkin' Donuts. They're just south of 90 on 31.
Really?
And I see them every week, and as soon as they hear my voice, they know exactly what I want, and they're the most wonderful girls. So everybody go in there and say hi to Jessica and Mahat.
That's great.
Thank you, girls. I love you.
Here.
Bye-bye.
I love you too. See you next week.
Okay, kids.
So you pulled a
All right,
Ferrari
bye-bye.
into Dunkin' Donuts, huh?
Yeah, oh, from your mouth to God's ears, I should have a Ferrari. Isn't that cute? They are so sweet to me.
That's great.
I hope
Anyway,
you don't mind the interruption.
not at all.
Okay.
That was nice. They're fans.
Of course they
They're
are.
fans.
Who's not a fan?
We want to call in your show. I said, well, call. The Laura Dion Jones Show. Where else? AM 1410 WRMN. Thanks for listening. Anyway, in our second half, Naomi Martell found us today.
That's great. That's great.
She's with us from the Women's Health Organization. And you know who she got GPS lessons from? My crush, Mayhem.
Oh,
the
yeah?
The sexiest GPS in the world.
You're not kidding.
Did you leave his picture up or did you take it down? Somebody took it down?
I had nothing to do with it, so probably another female in the building has absconded with your picture.
As long as they didn't throw it in the garbage. She's too cute.
Well, you brought me a picture of Padme, too, and that picture is gone. That I didn't take. Another guy around the building, I'm sure, has absconded with it.
Anyway, we're going to discuss women's pelvic health, and it shouldn't hurt for you boys to pay attention because we all need a healthy pelvis. So that's in the second half. And also, toward the end of the show, Tom Hartwell joins us to talk about his new book, Striving to Win, with his book signing party tomorrow night at Elgin Public House from 6 to 9 p.m. But we'll give you more 411 on that. So stay right where you are and don't touch that radio dial, because in the studio with us today on the Laura Dion Jones Show are Mike Hunziker, the greatest guy pal ever, loyal sidekick, trusty board man, Jeff Myers, my wonderful co-host, and of course, what would our show be without our very favorite YouTube camera girl, none other than Valerie the Swan. And we've got a whole lot of talkings lined up for you today, so please stick around. You're listening to the Laura Dion Jones Show on WRMN. And meanwhile, back at the WRMN Ranch, today's show is brought to you again by
our good friend Dr. Claire Elias. We learned on this show that she was far ahead of her time. We believe that as well. 23 years in Elgin. She has been better structure equals better function. That has been her motto for a long time. She is a great chiropractic care person, as you know, located at 2001 Larkin Avenue in Elgin. You can call Dr. Claire Elias at 847-888-9988. And Diva, show us some posture. Right there.
Diva's got the posture.
Salute to Dr. Claire Elias live in person.
And we'd also like to thank snobhounds.com, a canine clothing company. Think Nike meets Donna Karan, but for canines. And we'd also like to thank Casey Tool, an automotive specialty tool company, available through Snap-on Mobile Tool Distributor. And a very special thank you to Casey for making this show and all of our shows possible. Let me quickly give you Laura's motivational quote of the week. You ready?
Yes.
You're going to get this
one. Taking notes.
A man, as a general rule, owes very little to what he is born with. A man is what he makes himself. I'll give you a hint. AGB.
A.J. Brzezinski.
AGB. Alexander
Graham Bell.
Yes.
Watson,
Okay.
come here. We need you.
So listen, go to...
That's Don Amici in real life, wasn't it? Oh, that's just a movie. Always confuse the two.
I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes with you. Don Amici, that's way before my time.
Well, it's a movie reference.
Oh, okay.
It's a biopic.
So listen, go to elgin.bocajump.com and read this week's motivational article called Miss Boudreaux Prays for a Pass. It is absolutely cute and outstanding and motivational. And this Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year's Eve, how about cutting the amount of scrumptious stuffing, candied sweet potatoes, buttery garlic smashed potatoes, crusty bread, and sweeter than sugar desserts that you normally eat in half. And better yet, cut back your portions to just a whopping good taste of these things, because you aren't going to die, and the bonus is you won't feel overstuffed and in a carb coma, so like you usually are at these gatherings. Take this as your cue to begin moving in a new, healthier direction for the new year. And by all means, get everyone up from the holiday table and take a walk between dinner and dessert. And then go out and make something of yourself. Commit to Get Fit with Laura and learn to work on making yourself a new, improved, healthier version for you in 2012. Commit to Get Fit, Elgin's Biggest Loser 7 will begin January 4th. The location to be announced within the next 2 weeks. And please go to elgin.bocajump.com and read my articles. And it is the Laura Dion Jones Show. And, yes?
Just want to point out that you're looking right at me while Jeff is pointing right at me as you're talking about all these no-carb, low-carb tips for the holidays.
And?
Are you guys trying to tell me something?
That's that cheese issue.
I'm not looking at you. Jeff is still, I'm not, I made up my mind I was not going to bring up carbs, cheese balls, string cheese, nothing.
You'll go back to the YouTube and watch yourself. You're looking at me every time. You look up from the page, you're looking right at me. Yes, Mikey, I'm talking to you. I can see it in your eyes.
So it's time to give a warm LDJ welcome to Don Gabor, internationally known author and a terrific and timely book, author of a terrific and timely book, How to Start a Conversation and Make Friends. Don, are you there?
I sure am, Laura, and happy to be on your show.
Wow, am I excited to have you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be interviewing someone with your stature. Give us some of your background quickly.
I guess I was, when I was a kid, I used to get in trouble a lot for talking and entertaining the kids in the class, and after being thrown out a couple of times, and the teacher told me that I was one of the first people that he'd ever met that could talk and listen at the same time. I started teaching workshops here in New York City many, many years later, about 30 years ago, and I've been writing and teaching on the subject ever since, helping people walk into a room full of strangers, introduce themselves, make those connections that count, and hopefully turn some small talk into big deals.
I can't believe what a big deal on the speaking circuit you are. First, before I get into some questions, I want to tell you I love your chapter about talking with confidence on first dates.
It's funny how, people can be very good at speaking in certain situations, maybe in a business situation or maybe even in a party situation, but you take them out of those places where they're comfortable speaking and into maybe a dating situation where they have to kind of shine a little bit without some of the background support of a business or a title or something like that. And, it can be a little nerve-wracking, but all the communication skills generally transfer from one of those areas to the other pretty easily.
I also like your chapter on telling others who you are. Folks, you got to get this book. It's called How to Start a Conversation and Make Friends by Don Gabor. And your chapter on tell others who you are, because oftentimes people just don't know how to find the words to say, this is who I am.
The thing that's really important about being able to tell others who you are without, you're not walking around with a resume and you don't hand it to people. That's not what I mean. But people, they want to find out a little bit about you. They want to know a little bit about your background or what you're interested in, really simply because it helps fill in the blanks, and it also makes it really a lot easier for them to have a conversation with you. What a lot of people don't realize is they think, well, I don't want to tell other people, this or that. The problem is that if you don't paint a picture for people about who you are, they will paint a picture based on whatever preconceived ideas they might have of you based on how you look or how you sound. And let's face it, I hate to be, pessimistic about it, but a lot of times people choose the negative things. And so it's really important to be able to present yourself in a positive way, realistic though. I mean, I'm not saying to paint some Pollyanna kind of picture of yourself, but give people enough about who you are to at least get the conversation going and let that other person know what it is that you like to talk about, what some of your goals and some of your dreams and passions are, and conversation can take a really nice path that way.
That's some good advice. I want to ask you something. Why do you feel holiday parties are good opportunities to network?
Holiday parties are great opportunities to network for a couple different reasons, and that is that people are in a socializing mood, and so they're there to connect with people. Now that makes it easy to have a conversation, and the thing that people need to remember is that there is a little bit of a different type of etiquette, networking etiquette, at a holiday party versus, say, just a business event during some other time of the year. The etiquette kind of dictates it tends to be a little bit more important to talk about social kinds of things, maybe travel plans or what you want to do in the new year, and just more kind of informal subjects as opposed to I'm looking for a job and can you help me kind of thing.
Sure.
But the networking part of the holiday parties, really what's happening there is a rapport building and making connections so that people get a sense of who you are in a very informal way and in a less intimidating, less stressful. So that's why they're good places to meet people, and it's also a great place to talk about some of your goals for the new year. And whether it's personal goals for weight loss or going back to school and getting training for something, or maybe you want to write a book, or maybe it's more professional. You are looking to, maybe you're going to start a new business, or you're looking to change careers. You can talk about all those things. They're perfect topics for the holiday party.
Good advice. This is the Laura Dion Jones Show, AM 1410 WRMN in Elgin, and we are on the phone with Don Gabor, author of How to Start a Conversation and Make Friends. Don, do you feel small talk is really important or just a waste of time like many people feel?
Well, I'm called the small talk expert. So my view is that small talk is probably one of the most underrated communication skills there is. And people think it's not important, and I couldn't disagree with them more. And I'll give you 3 really important reasons why I say that. Number one is the ability to make small talk shows that you can talk about a variety of subjects. It's not just talking shop or one hot button kind of topic that you're most interested in. You can change topics and talk about things in a variety of levels. So it shows how you communicate, a style of communication. It also shows that you want to communicate, and this is very important because not everybody really picks up the signals. If you're not willing to make small talk, people might get a sense, well, you don't want to talk about anything. So it opens the channel of communication. And finally, what many people don't realize is that during the process of chatting about movies or books or things that you like to do for fun or your garden or cleaning out the basement, whatever it might be, within the context of those very small talk kind of subjects, we communicate a lot of what we call free information. So you can put in additional information, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear a lot of information is communicated via small talk. So you can pick up a key word, those are words that paint pictures, and simply refer to that key word somewhere down the line in your conversation to change topics in just about any direction. So small talk has a lot of value, and if you listen carefully, you can really take advantage of what people are telling you.
You really can uncover some, not secrets about them, but some things that you can take further in the conversation. Somebody asked me, what would you do if, say, you were a guy who delivers milk for Jewel, and you were thrown into a situation where you were with a socialite from the North Shore who was a $500 a year attorney? It's like, what would you do? How could you, if you were the socialite, make friends with the milk delivery guy? And how could the milk delivery guy, what would he do? What tips would you give him to talk to the socialite so that you could bring them more together on a common ground? Does that make sense?
It's a great question. It's a great question, and a lot of people feel very self-conscious about the positions that they hold in their society and in their lives. But what I want to tell people, and what I believe to be true, is that whether you're the $500 an hour attorney or you're the guy who delivers the milk, either of those two people can be great conversationalists, and either of those two people can be very self-conscious about the positions that they hold. In other words, I've met many, many people who are very high-powered, business people who, and Johnny Carson, not that I met him, but he's a perfect example. He was very shy and uncomfortable in talking to people at parties. Now, he was a performer and spoke to millions of people every night, and he appears on television, and he was very comfortable and witty and charming and all that. And by the same token, somebody who, let's say they have a high school education, they haven't gone to the best business colleges in the country and all that kind of stuff. If they are interested and interesting, in other words, if they show interest in other people and they have something interesting to share with people, they can be great conversationalists too. And I've met many of them. I live here in Brooklyn, and boy, we rub elbows with everybody here.
Sure.
So I want to just, from one perspective to answer your question, is don't think just because somebody occupies a high position in society or quote unquote a working class kind of position that they either going to be good or bad. Now the question is, how do you get those two people to connect? And the answer to that is the same answer that I give to everybody, no matter what position they hold, is you've got to find some common ground, some commonality. So in the case that you brought up, work will not be it. But people are interested in a lot of other things, and that's, again, why small talk is so important.
Sure.
If you listen to what people tell you, what information they reveal, they'll tell you what they want to talk about. So in that case, what I would be talking about is probably food or activities outside of work, maybe what people like to do for fun, maybe they gardening, family, maybe they're interested in cars or
Sure.
You've got to be a little bit of a detective. And in that case, I still believe anybody who's a good conversationalist can talk to just about anybody. Be interested and interesting.
Very good advice. I have something I want to talk to you about, because one thing I'm really bad is remembering names, especially as I get a little more hormonally older, if you get my drift. No snickering here from the boys. And I know you've got a strategy. What's your secret, and is there hope for someone as challenged in that department as I am? Because last week I called the guest by the wrong name.
Let's face it. Remembering names is one of those things that just about everybody will admit at one time or another they've had a problem with, and I'm in that category too. But I am pretty good at remembering names, but I'm not a memory expert. And here's what the technique that I use that works about 70 to 80% of the time. It seems kind of crazy, but it does work. And my technique is this: I think of someone I know with the same name. That's the technique. It's not complicated. And you might think, yeah, but what? I don't get it. Every time I meet somebody named
Laura.
Bob or Laura, I'll think of the same person I know, and it's the first person that comes to my mind. It's usually somebody it could be a neighbor, it could be a relative, it could be a famous, it could be a celebrity, but I always think of the same person. And they don't have to look anything alike. They don't have to be the same age. When I meet somebody named Sophie, I think of my cat, so they don't even need to be in the same, genus. You know what? And it's funny, but what prevents people from remembering names is they're thinking about what they're going to say next.
Yes.
And they're not focusing on
Guilty.
the name. So the name goes in one ear and out the other. But
Guilty.
if you try this technique, and let me just tell you, the reason I think this technique works, and again, I'm not a memory expert, but I do use this technique and I'm pretty good at remembering names, is because we have so many common first names, and I do focus on first names, and that's kind of a standard American style of communicating with people that you meet for the first time. Because there's so many common first names, everybody knows somebody named Bill or Don or Laura or Diane or Mike. And if you use the same person every time you meet Mike, you think of your producer. Every time you meet somebody named Mike, I will bet you 7 out of 10 times you're going to remember that person's name.
I bet you 7 out of 10 times I will. I bet you 9 out of 10 times I will.
Well, that's pretty good. It takes a little bit of practice, but what it is, it's really focusing and paying attention. Of course, there's some other techniques. You want to repeat the name when you hear it. You want to focus on that moment of introduction, of course, because that person is the most important person in the room at that moment, even if it's only for 2 or 3 seconds. Repeat the name. Make sure you got it right. Shows the person that you're trying to remember his or her name. Mm-hmm. And, of course, just by repeating it, you have to think it, you hear it, and you're saying it. So there's 3 repetitions. So those are my techniques. I didn't make them up. They've been around for 100 years, probably more.
Don't lie. You made them up.
They really do work.
You compiled them. Yeah. Listen, we're running out of time. Where is your book and audio book, How to Start a Conversation and Make Friends, available?
Gosh, that's available at any bookstore, online, or bricks
Amazon.
And mortar store. You can just go to Amazon, any of those bookstores, and you can find my book. If you're interested in talking to me, please email me or go to my website. Don@dongabor.com is my email address. DonGabor.com is my website.
Like Zsa Zsa Gabor, Don Gabor.
Like Zsa Zsa Gabor.
DonGabor.com, and that's where people can find you. And you know something, Don? I would like to have you back on more around Valentine's Day, because I know you have some terrific tips that a whole bunch of friends of mine could use.
I'm happy to do that. We'll get out our calendars and make a date.
Absolutely. Thank you for being such a wonderful guest today and for coming on the Laura Dion Jones Show.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Bye-bye.